The beginning of this thrilling and astonishing story introduces a girl named Layla. Layla was studying at a university, but since her holidays had just started, she decided to visit her old house in North Dakota. Without wasting time, Layla packed her bags and set out on her journey. Although no one lived in her old house, several servants were appointed to take care of it. After traveling continuously, Layla finally reached North Dakota. She had been informed that someone would come to pick her up and drop her at her destination. However, even after calling multiple times, no one arrived to pick her up. Just then, a hefty man named Oz appeared at the location. Seeing Layla in distress, he asked her if she needed any help. Layla explained that her driver hadn't shown up despite multiple calls and that she needed to reach her destination. Upon hearing this, Oz offered her a ride, saying that he lived nearby and could drop her off. However, Layla was not the kind of person to trust a stranger so easily. She declined his offer and told him that she would manage on her own. She then started calling several taxi drivers, trying to arrange a ride. After some time, she found out that Oz himself was a taxi driver. Realizing this, Layla eventually agreed to go with Oz to her destination. Both of them got into the taxi and started their journey. Oz, who was quite talkative, began asking Layla personal questions, such as who was in her family and why she had come back to this place after so many years. Layla then revealed that her mother had passed away some time ago and that she had died in the very house she was now going to. However, Layla still didn't know the reason behind her mother's death. She had always believed it was a suicide, but a shocking reality awaited her at the old house. Oz kept trying to ask her more questions, but Layla chose not to answer further as she was beginning to feel a little insecure. Eventually, Oz dropped her off at her destination, a very old house. As he opened the door, his mobile phone accidentally fell inside without him realizing it. Without paying much attention to Oz, Layla gathered her belongings and walked toward the house. As soon as she entered, she encountered two women named Katie and Rose. Actually, both of those girls had come there with their friends to spend their holidays. It was Layla's first time talking to them, and they quickly became quite friendly. Katie and Rose mentioned that they had come not only for a vacation but also to work on some important university projects. As Layla walked a little further, she noticed an old well near her childhood home. It brought back memories of playing there with her mother when she was a child. The well was deeply etched in her memory, holding countless moments from her past. However, Layla had no idea that this very well would soon become the reason for everyone's lives being in danger. For now, Layla had become friends with Katie and Rose. So, she invited them and their friends to her house, saying, "Why don't you all come over? My house is nearby, and I live there alone." Katie and Rose liked this idea, so they decided to visit her house soon. They planned to have fun together, and this way, Layla would also have company in her old home. Layla, along with Katie and Rose, entered her house. There, another friend of theirs, Meredith, arrived. However, Meredith behaved strangely towards Layla, as if they were rivals trying to put each other down. Shortly after, two boys named Eddie and Matt came in. They were also part of their friend group. One of them was Meredith's boyfriend, and she made sure to show him off in front of Layla, perhaps to make her feel jealous, as Layla was single. For Meredith, this was the ultimate way to flaunt her relationship. Everyone in the house was having a great time, cooking new dishes and enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, in the forest, Oz was shown searching for his lost cell phone. He had realized that his phone had fallen somewhere, so he quickly turned his car around to retrieve it. When he reached near the well, he got out and started searching around. Suddenly, his eyes fell on something inside the well. From inside the well, strange sounds were coming. When Oz tried to take a closer look, a weird, slimy liquid suddenly burst out of it. The liquid was thick, sticky, and green in color, and it splattered directly onto Oz. He was utterly terrified and immediately rushed back to his car to drive away. However, some of the liquid had also entered his stomach. As time passed, Oz began to feel an unsettling sensation in his abdomen. His condition deteriorated rapidly, so he stopped his car in the middle of the forest to rest for a while, unaware of the horrifying fate that awaited him. Suddenly, something monstrous started emerging from inside his stomach, tearing through his flesh completely. In absolute horror, Oz realized that a grotesque, demonic-looking dwarf-like creature was crawling out of his body. Its face was nothing short of pure evil. The terrifying little demon brutally ripped through Oz's stomach and emerged from his body, killing him instantly. In its hand, the creature held an ancient-looking gold coin, but it seemed that it was still hungry for more blood. Slowly, it began moving forward, searching for its next victim. Meanwhile, at Layla's house, all her friends were enjoying themselves, completely unaware of the horror unfolding nearby. During their conversation, Layla opened up about her mother's death, explaining how she had recently passed away. However, instead of comforting her, Meredith began mocking her, making fun of the way her mother had supposedly committed suicide. Layla was deeply hurt and enraged by this. Instead of continuing the celebration, she left the group and retreated to her bedroom to be alone and rest. As Layla lay in bed, she started experiencing terrifying visions of Oz's death. His face kept appearing in front of her, as if warning her of something terrible. She jolted awake in fear, initially thinking it was just a nightmare or a bad vision. However, when she felt something wet on her cheek, she touched it and saw a drop of blood. This was no dream, everything she had just seen was real. Layla was now deeply lost in thought about everything that had happened. Since she was already awake, she decided to check if there was any food left in the house. However, she soon discovered that her basement was completely flooded. Curious to find the source of the leakage, she went down to investigate. But the most shocking thing was that the small demonic creature was right there, staring at her intently, planning its attack. Just as it was about to lunge at her, Rose suddenly entered the basement. Her presence seemed to stop the creature in its tracks, forcing it to retreat for the time being. The next day, all the students decided to help Layla fix her house. They installed 16 new panels and repaired all the electronic appliances that had been completely damaged. Later, Layla went into the garage, which once belonged to her father. Matt also joined her there and began flirting with her. The two of them were enjoying their time together, and Layla was starting to feel comfortable. However, lurking in the shadows, the small demon continued to watch them both, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It was clear that it wanted revenge, but what kind of revenge? That would soon become clear. The demonic creature kept touching its gold coin repeatedly and muttering, "I need the rest of my gold. I need my power back." It was evident that the demon derived its strength from these small golden coins. Although it tried to use its telekinetic powers to kill both Layla and Matt, it wasn't able to unleash its full strength due to the missing gold. Meanwhile, at the front of the house, a postman arrived to deliver some letters. As he opened the mailbox, he heard strange noises coming from inside. Curious, he bent down to take a closer look. At that moment, two glowing eyes suddenly appeared in the darkness. Without hesitation, the small demon grabbed the postman's head and violently shoved it inside the mailbox, killing him instantly. The small demon then climbed into the postman's car and took control of it. Meanwhile, the postman, whose head was still stuck inside the mailbox, couldn't see anything. He stumbled forward and crashed straight onto the car, falling onto the ground. Without any delay, the demon ran the car over his head, completely crushing both the mailbox and the postman's skull. Back at the house, Layla was taking a hot shower. She was thoroughly enjoying it, as she had never expected the water to be this warm. She was savoring every moment, completely relaxed. But she wasn't alone. The small demon was there, watching her, slowly moving closer to attack. Just as it was about to make its move, Katie arrived, calling Layla for dinner. The demon, unwilling to expose itself, stayed hidden. However, Katie secretly took pictures of Layla while she was in the shower, possibly intending to use them later. As Layla finished her shower and stepped out, the small demon suddenly appeared in front of her, moving closer with every step. "I knew your mother," the demon whispered. Then, it reached for the golden locket hanging around Layla's neck. As soon as it touched the locket, its hand began to burn. The demon recoiled in pain, unable to touch it. Realizing that she had an advantage, Layla saw an opportunity to fight back. She grabbed a book and lunged at the demon, ready to attack. At that exact moment, the entire house lost power, plunging everything into darkness. Downstairs, Matt heard Layla screaming and immediately rushed to help. The small demon tried to flee but accidentally collided with Matt. Both of them fell to the ground, and Matt got injured in the process. A little while later, Layla found Matt and told him everything that had happened, the appearance of the leprechaun-like demon, how it tried to steal her locket, and how it burned upon touching it. Matt, however, remained skeptical. He assumed that Layla was just terrified and hallucinating things due to fear. He dismissed her concerns, believing that none of this was actually possible. Layla tried to convince herself that maybe Matt was right, that it was all just in her head. Meanwhile, in another room, Meredith was completely wasted, drinking far too much. She was so drunk that she had no idea what she was doing anymore. Right beside Meredith, the same small demon appeared, staring at her. At first, Meredith was utterly shocked to see him. But then, the little demon spoke to her, saying, "I won't harm you." He was only asking for gold, demanding to know where it was. However, Meredith had no idea about any gold, so she refused to help the demon. But then, the little demon made things very clear. He told her, "Bring me Layla, and in return, I won't harm you. In fact, I will even give you a piece of my gold." Hearing this, Meredith was overjoyed. She never really liked Layla anyway, so she finalized the deal with the little demon. She even took a photo with him, in which the demon posed confidently. However, it was clear that the demon was only using Meredith. In the end, he intended to kill everyone. When Meredith sobered up a little, she rushed to her other friends and showed them the photos of the little demon. As soon as Layla, Matt, and the others saw the picture, Layla immediately recognized the demon and warned everyone, "That's the one. This demon is extremely dangerous. These little demons manipulate us, deceive us, and make us do their bidding." Realizing the grave danger they were in, everyone began preparing to leave the house as soon as possible. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see Katie and Eddie. They were deeply engrossed in each other, sharing an intimate moment. However, suddenly, Eddie heard a strange sound from behind. Eddie turned to Katie and said, "You go back to the others, I'll join you in a bit." Then, he walked straight towards the backyard, as the strange noises were coming from there. A few moments later, Eddie saw the same small demon standing before him. Surprisingly, instead of being scared, Eddie started chatting with the demon. For some reason, he didn't take the demon seriously. He even took a selfie with him, as if he were just another friend, collecting memories. Meanwhile, Layla and the others were gathering everyone together, trying to ensure they all stayed safe. However, Eddie was still missing. That's when they began to hear his voice calling out from the backyard. That's why everyone started heading to that spot. By then, Eddie had realized that the demon had come to kill them. So, he started attacking the small demon with iron objects. However, the demon easily dodged all of his attacks. But the little demon still had some kinetic energy left. Using it, he loosened the nuts on the solar panels above. As a result, a massive solar panel fell directly onto Eddie's head, splitting his entire body into two parts. Eddie's death was so gruesome that no one could even bear to look at him. This meant that the little demon's deadly game had truly begun. Meanwhile, Meredith, Matt, and the others had gathered at one place, but they realized that Rouge had not yet joined them. Inside a room, Rouge was shown standing there when the small demon suddenly appeared before her. He slowly started approaching her, intending to take the gold she had and torture her to death. Rouge was so terrified that she threw anything she could find at the demon. Fortunately, she had a lot of shoes, and using them, she managed to cause some serious damage to the little demon. This distracted the demon, giving Rouge the chance to escape. For some strange reason, the little demon seemed to have a strong sense of discipline. Instead of chasing Rouge, he picked up all the thrown shoes and neatly lined them up in a standing row. At the same time, Rouge finally rejoined the others. But then, Meredith's dark side was revealed. It turned out that Meredith had intentionally locked Layla inside a room and then ran back to the group. She lied to them, saying, "The little demon has captured Layla and killed her. There's no point in waiting for her now. We should escape and save ourselves." Believing her, everyone rushed into the car and drove away as fast as they could. Meanwhile, Layla, who had been locked inside the room, struggled in the darkness. Meredith had made a deal with the little demon and was determined to fulfill it. As Layla cautiously moved forward in the pitch-black room, she suddenly stumbled upon OG's dead body, the same person the demon had killed earlier. OG's body was horribly mutilated in an unnatural way. But before completely dying, OG managed to give Layla a map. The map revealed the locations of all the gold pieces that the demon had been desperately searching for. When Layla carefully started reading the map, she discovered that it not only showed the locations of the gold but also revealed the little demon's weakness. This meant that if she followed the map, she could save all her friends. Without wasting any time, Layla decided to follow the map and kept moving forward. Meanwhile, Meredith and the rest of the group were shown driving away in the car, trying to escape. However, the terrifying demon suddenly appeared in front of them, flying through the air and relentlessly chasing them. Meredith, who was driving, panicked as soon as she saw the demon. She lost control of the car, causing it to go off track and crash in a brutal accident. Many of them were injured in the crash, but as they slowly crawled out of the wreckage, they were horrified to see OG's dead body lying nearby. His body was in a terrible state. Katie couldn't bear the sight, it was too much for her. Moments later, the demon arrived. He took OG's eyes out of his skull and placed them into his own sockets because his original eyes had been damaged earlier. At that moment, Meredith finally confessed to her friends that she had intentionally locked Layla in the room. She admitted that she had made a deal with the little demon. Terrified of what she had done, Meredith panicked and started running as fast as she could. She realized that the demon had become even more dangerous. He had already killed Eddie. Meredith found herself in a garden-like area, running frantically. But the little demon was already there, watching her. Using his kinetic powers, the demon activated all the water sprinklers in the garden, trying to trap her. However, Meredith refused to stop running. Seeing her determination, the little demon grew furious. Using his magic, he pulled one of the sprinklers out of the ground and launched it directly at Meredith's mouth. The sprinkler forcefully lodged itself into her throat, getting stuck deep inside. Meredith died an excruciatingly painful death on the spot. Meanwhile, Katie, Rouge, and Matt were still advancing cautiously. Suddenly, they spotted a drone in the sky. Matt had an idea. He thought they could use the drone to track the little demon. Without hesitation, Matt connected the drone to his phone. Matt launched the drone to check the demon's exact location. However, instead of staying with him, Katie and Rose went ahead to find Layla. They had also realized that Meredith had deliberately trapped Layla. Matt connected the drone to his phone and began scanning the area, keeping a close eye on the little demon. For a while, he was able to control the drone perfectly. But suddenly, the drone went completely out of control. As Matt stepped forward to investigate, he was horrified to see the little demon controlling the drone with his hands. It was already too late. No one could save Matt now. Within moments, the demon sent the drone hurtling toward Matt at full speed. The drone's spinning propellers slashed across Matt's throat, cutting it wide open. Matt collapsed to the ground, lifeless. It was a brutal and painful death. Meanwhile, the good news was that Katie and Rose had successfully found Layla. Now, the three of them continued following the map, which was supposed to lead them to the demon's hidden gold. As they moved forward, they came across an old, abandoned truck. According to the map, this was the exact spot where a large amount of gold had been stored. The three of them carefully searched inside the truck and eventually found a pot filled with gold. However, it seemed that some gold coins were missing. That's when Rose and Katie finally revealed the truth. They had known about the gold all along. In fact, they had deliberately taken some of it to fund their project because they were short on money. Layla immediately understood. This was the real reason why the demon was after them. Until he retrieved all his gold, he wouldn't stop hunting them. Just then, Katie and Rose noticed that Layla was wearing a necklace with a gold coin. Layla quickly clarified, "This isn't real gold. It's iron with a gold plating." But then something strange happened. When the demon had touched her locket earlier, his hand had started to burn. Piecing everything together, the three of them realized that iron might be the demon's weakness. If they could use this to their advantage, they might have a chance to defeat him. Now, all they needed was a proper plan, one that would lure the demon in and completely destroy him. Only by killing the demon could they escape this nightmare alive. Layla had placed a mix of gold and iron coins inside the pot to trick the demon into thinking it contained real gold. She and her friends had carefully planned this trap, and within moments, the demon was drawn toward the pot. However, after inspecting the contents, the demon quickly realized that the coins weren't real gold but iron plated with gold. Before the demon could escape, Layla and her friends surrounded him with iron objects. The moment the demon touched any of the iron items, he suffered severe electric shocks because his body was extremely vulnerable to iron. In this way, the three of them successfully trapped the demon. Layla recalled something she had read on the map that Aji's dead body had given her. There was another thing the demon feared: clover liquid. She immediately instructed Katie and Rose to prepare the clover juice. Fortunately, they found the necessary ingredients nearby and began making the liquid. At one point, in a desperate attempt to save himself, the demon mimicked Layla's mother's voice, hoping to manipulate her emotions so she would release him. But Layla remained firm and said, "My mother is dead. She's never coming back." The demon's psychological trick had failed. As soon as the clover liquid was ready, they inserted a pipe into the demon's mouth and forced the entire liquid into his body. Within seconds, the liquid overwhelmed the demon, and his entire body exploded into pieces, scattering in all directions. Layla and her friends cheered, celebrating their victory over the monstrous creature. However, Layla reminded them, "One last thing remains: we need to burn every single piece of this demon's body. If we leave any fragments behind, he might regenerate and return." Layla found all this information written on the map that Aji had given her. Layla and Katie went outside to collect wood because they had to burn the remains. Meanwhile, Rose was inside the house, gathering all the scattered pieces of the demon in one place. However, she had no idea that this would be her last day. Suddenly, the pieces of the small demon began transforming into tiny versions of itself, multiplying rapidly. These miniature demons started attacking Rose. Although she managed to kill many of them, their sheer number overwhelmed her. They swarmed her, inflicting continuous damage. Hearing Rose's screams, Layla and Katie rushed inside the house, but to their horror, they found Rose's lifeless body. The multiple demon fragments had merged back into its original monstrous form. Furious, the demon wasted no time and immediately attacked Katie. Layla, searching for a way to protect herself, realized that iron could harm the demon. She removed the locket from her neck, which was made of iron, and strategically placed all the iron-plated coins from the pot around the demon. Then, she grabbed a wire with active electricity flowing through it. Without hesitation, she connected the current to the iron plates, creating an electrified trap. As soon as the demon came into contact with the circuit, its entire body started burning. The reaction intensified rapidly, setting the entire house on fire. Layla quickly pulled Katie out to safety, as they could have been caught in the flames too. Even after suffering severe burns and injuries, the demon was relentless. It grabbed Aji's leg and, in a final desperate attempt, mimicked his mother's voice to lure him in. However, Layla, standing with Katie, was not deceived this time. She kicked the demon away with force, sending it crashing into the burning house. As soon as they stepped outside, the entire house exploded in a massive blast. After the explosion, the same strange liquid that had fallen on Aji at the beginning now splashed onto Layla and Katie, signifying that the demon had been completely destroyed. Layla and Katie then noticed Aji's lifeless body in front of them, but his spirit seemed to be waving at them, signaling them to stay safe. Layla expressed her gratitude because, without the map he had given them, they would never have been able to defeat the demon, and it would have killed them all. Shortly after, police officers arrived at the scene, rescuing Layla and Katie and escorting them away from the disaster site. However, in a shocking twist the next day, we see the demon's small hat moving on its own. Within moments, the demon regenerates, though in a severely weakened state. Despite its injuries, it sneaks into a chicken delivery van and heads toward the city, determined to recover the rest of its stolen gold. This means the demon's thirst for revenge is still not over. It will continue hunting down anyone who possesses its gold. And with that, our terrifying story comes to an end.